Okay, so welcome everyone to our monthly fire ceremony. And today we're really looking at thresholds. We're opening up our own um, really power within to connect to grace and to connect to all the ways that transformation can occur as we start to come together in community, as we start to allow ourselves to fearlessly look in the places we've been taught to ignore, and as we embrace the blessings and also all the things in our lives that we really seek change around. So I have a couple things I want to share with you all, a couple pieces of reading to start. And you can begin here by noticing what's coming up in your own body, like as soon as we come together in this energetic container. We've been doing this, Harshit and I have been doing this for about 4 years now, I think, at least 3.5. Online, we've been doing this a lot longer than that, not online, but just more consistently every month online. So there's an energy that gets built when you do something over time, if the thing is meant to keep going, because that's not always true. And so you can already start to feel maybe like what's bubbling inside you around the themes and the topics. We're going to be looking a little bit at owning our anger. We're going to be looking at the mother and embracing the divine mother, and having a very direct embodied experience with her, and looking at Ganesha, who really is the carrier of thresholds, and the one who blesses new beginnings, and the one who both brings the challenges but also is the remover of them. Right? It's the energy of how we gather the medicine, I find, from our wounds, and it's very like root chakra, like earth energy. My experience of Ganesha and my own mystical experiences working with this particular mantra. So the first thing I want to read you. So as you're noticing that, you're welcome to put it in the chat or just open up a document or have your own journal just to be in this ceremony. It'll be about an hour. And just so you can kind of capture anything that's coming up in your intuition around the things that we're teaching about, because we're going to give little teachings, but what comes up in your intuition in this time is going to be the most valuable information, because we're here to open up those doors or to hold space for the opening of these doors. Especially, we're still in Taurus new moon-ish time, and Taurus is all about embodied intuition. It's about the third eye. It's about the voice. It's about allowing our bodies to live in sync with our environments, and with what's going on inside of us, and how that relates to nature, to the collective, and to the earth, of course, and to pleasure, right? So there's a lot there. And I love this quote by Lama Rod Owens. Some of you might know, if you do know Lama Rod Owens, you can put it in the chat. But we love him and his teachings. But I loved this for today. It says, "We need space to wake up. It's hard, but it's hard to have that space when we don't feel cared for. This energy of care is what helps us feel not alone, connected, that we belong to others and community. We can't feel isolated and expect to get free. We have to be connected. Interdependence is one of the laws of the relative everything's connected. You are calling into your space all the beings who love you. Sit in the field of being cared for." So as we start to cultivate and call in this sitting in this space where we are cared for, right? And what that means to you, right? Because when you're sitting in that space, you become a carrier for that frequency of cared for, that then it naturally gets created, right? Wherever you go. And, that's part of the point, right? This isn't just an individual pursuit. This is very much about how we're engaging with and relating to the collective. And as we know, to change the patterns and the limitations that we've inherited is no small thing, especially when it comes to love, right? And especially when it comes to the ways that we're showing up, you know, for ourselves and in the world. When we find ourselves, you know, at any kind of thresholds, and we've used this word a lot over the years. One of my teachers, Heidi Rose Robbins, had a whole theme of one of her retreats that was thresholds, and it was so powerful, you know, because that's oftentimes when we find one another. You know, that's oftentimes what births us into a spiritual relationship with the divine that is within our own hearts and within the energy that comes forth when we gather, right? Is we find ourselves at some thresholds. And there's some questions by this great writer, John O'Donohue, that I really love, that I want to ask you. And, you know, maybe B, you can type them into the chat. I'll try to say them slowly. But I wanted to just start opening up a couple of these questions. And then Harshita, I think, is almost done. And, you know, we'll share a little bit more about anger and, you know, working with owning our anger. And then, you know, move into our embodiment and mantra practice. So asking ourselves and yourself in this moment, at which threshold am I standing? At which threshold am I standing? And if you're driving, or, you know, you could just like contemplate these, like let them come into your field, right? At this time in my life, what am I leaving? At this time in my life, what am I leaving? Where am I about to enter? So I'm just going to kind of leave it at those three to just, you know, in this, there's a longer piece that I can share with you all that John O'Donohue wrote about thresholds. But really like capturing, you know, this essence that when we start to find ourselves experiencing the shift, you know, of some sort of limitation loosening, or sometimes we're pushed out of the nest in some way, right, into a new territory, we're oftentimes in a very vulnerable state and very raw state, right? Even when it's the things that we want, right? Because there's this possibility that starts to open in our perception and in our awareness. And at the same time that it opens, it tends to call out, you know, all these repressed parts of us that weren't safe to be seen up until this now and new moment, right? And so this is oftentimes this kind of place where, you know, when we come together and we can affirm these different experiences that we've been kind of taught to repress or oppress, or kind of become consumed with, right? You know, the opposite of avoidance is just becoming completely possessed by, you know, let's say an emotion, or, you know, let's talk about anger, right? Avoiding anger, on the other side of that, is when we're just, you know, consumed by it to the point where we can't actually utilize the energy that's there, that's quite powerful to create change, right? So just feel into some of that, and maybe put a couple things in the chat, like, how does this relate to you? How does this relate to how you're experiencing the world at this time, right? When there's so much really intense, really intense injustice and really intense desire, you know, within us to create change, to be open and honest and available with who we are. I'm going to turn this on the thing so you. And just, you know, maybe pop in the chat, what does this bring up for you, and what are you making, you know, what are you hearing and what I'm sharing.
Hi everyone. Tonya says, leaving pain and suffering. Christine Campbell wants you to repeat the questions.
They're written above in the chat. Unless you can't see them, let me know.
That's B. So B is writing our questions, not her questions.
Yes.
I'm about to enter self-love, love for others and healing. Anne says, I'm consumed by anger of mother wound right now, trying to navigate it, but it's difficult.
Yeah, thank you, Anne. That's definitely a big theme of this ceremony. So it's perfect. This is a perfect place to be with that. And I totally know my own version of that feeling. And as you're typing this and as you're contemplating it, see if you can locate where it is, what you're experiencing, whether you're experiencing this threshold of opening into a greater layer of self-love and healing, or whether you're really, in the activation of the wound. Ask yourself, after you kind of use your awareness, where do you feel what that is in your body, and just see what arises. Like, there's no right or wrong. Sometimes you ask yourself that and it's just like a blank screen or a blank canvas or nothing, right? But just start to like entertain the question that your body is holding these very specific energies, and that's part of this practice. It is an embodied practice to work with fire. So just naming that.
Yeah. Just reading what's in the chat.
Do you want to read it out loud?
Yeah. Dominica says, I can totally relate to opening to the new and experiencing wounds and vulnerability, being open to new ways of expression, and also relating with the mother wound. Adriana Contreras says, consumed by shame and regret as I navigate how to show up authentically in facilitation and holding space. It is deep in my throat and gripping my guts. And Everett says, in the womb, very clearly, it's always...
This is Anne Everett.
That's what I said.
Oh, I thought you just said Everett.
In the womb, very clearly, it's always the sacral chakra for me. And Rihanna says, getting into relationship with my newfound anger around my mother passing, leaving, as a new threshold around being alone in this life, experience and deeply interconnected.
Yeah.
Allowing...
Thank you for sharing that.
Yes, Jackie, and condolences. Jackie says, allowing people their own lessons and experiences as I personally come back to love, living in deep gratitude of all of us. It's Stephanie's.
Okay. And B, you can keep letting people in, right? Okay. Yeah, if it's not like that, you can always just let me know, so that way I can make you guys. Okay. I'm not going to read them all out loud, but thank you for just, sharing vulnerably and putting your voices into this space, especially around things like grief, anger, or wounds. It's, I always feel like, being online is a little bit of like a safe place to do that, even though it can feel, for some of us, like really scary, like you can't even do it. You know what I mean? So those of you that feel like that's helpful for you, it only, supports everyone else, because, we all have our own experiences of loss and grief. And that, I loved what Rihanna said of like just that sense of being alone in the world in a new way, and the reality of that. And, or at least that's what I heard. It might not be exactly what you meant, because we're not having a conversation, but and that's what it sparked in me, was just that sense of like, how am I alone in the world, and how is that relating to all the ways that I'm not, and all the ways that I'm connected to something that is maybe not material or in material reality, but that, is birthed from these experiences of loss or of letting go. It's so intense, it's such a deep, there's such deep portals, the stuff that we're talking about. So just naming the depths and naming our own capacity, each of us, to be able to be with it, and allowing wherever we are in terms of our capacity today to be the right place, to be enough. There's never pressure to be like present. There's never pressure to be anything, in these spaces, except, as kind as we can be to ourselves and to one another, and allow grace to do her thing. Do you want to share a little bit?
No, that feels very complete. I think it's great, and I'm so glad that you all are here, and just sharing this moment of ceremony with us.
Yeah.
She's reading.
Yeah, and just like pausing just to see if there's anything else that wants to arise. We have some time. There's no rush.
I thought we had this struck the offering at 9:03.
No, we have, I mean, yeah, I think we're okay.
Also questions, if there's any questions around anger or, working with anger within the context of yoga. I mean, it's kind of what we're talking about, sort of. If there's any questions that come up too, feel free to put those in.
Yeah, Irina said, I noticed recently how the cycle of victim anger shame for being angry and aggressive was taking part in my life. Learning now within my own family to get out of this cycle through expression of anger in a different way and not feeling ashamed or self-diminishing for my own needs when the anger is legitimate. Yeah, that's a big part of the process, because I think, many of us were really taught to repress it, or we just grew up in hostile environments where, anger was either completely repressed, which is also another form of a hostile environment. It was just like an inwardly hostile environment, or it was something that, we inherited in terms of our own, just the family that we were, born into, where there was a lot of physical aggression, that then, it creates these patterns in us, right? And I think that when it comes to our relationship to the divine, and, I'd love to hear what you think about this too, and our relationship to God and our being on our own unique spiritual paths and journeys, at the source of a lot of any, emotion that arises, at the very root of it, when we're giving ourselves space, like what Irina was saying, to kind of titrate, and like turn towards it, but then, learning from it, we can actually access a more unbound energy, right? Where all these emotions tend to be bound, just like a lot of our thoughts. But when we can kind of follow them to the root, we start to access life force. We start to access the energy that isn't bound. It's just usually most of us weren't taught how to be in that threshold, right? Of like going from what our automatic experience is to what's underneath. And oftentimes it's not just that we weren't taught, we actually need relationships to other humans to hold us in that deepening, because, our wounds are relational. So they need relationship to actually, come up and out, and I'm curious, what you think and what comes up for you in that relationship to anger, and and just how it can fuel, our actions in the world that are in alignment with our truth, or in alignment with the divine as we understand her.
Yeah, I mean, for sure. And so much of the work that you do focuses on this and people reclaiming these energies that, traditionally were seen as obstacles, whether it was desire or anger, or rage, or, sexual passion, sexual desire, all those things. And how maybe once upon a time we were so elemental as people that all of those energies were just super full on. And a lot of the work was about curbing them. And that now most people are so shut down and living in this kind of unreal world of their thoughts that it's about awakening those things. I would say, and this is probably a discussion for another time, but there is a thing also where anger still is an obstacle. I mean, we don't want to be angry people. And that's the overcompensation that happens sometimes.
Yeah.
It's just the same way that we'll say, well, I'm not going to repress my sexuality. And then I'm just going to be just completely out of control with my sexual energy, or I'm not going to repress my anger. So then I'm just going to I'm just going to be angry.
Yeah.
And then we have to live within all of that.
Totally. Yeah. And that's the thing about, I think, like, we're talking about the path of evolution. We're talking about living in service to and in devotion to the Divine Mother, who is going to call us into her embrace through every phase, and I heard this thing the other day where, because a lot of you do this embodiment work, like what Harshit is talking about, and we come into this space, generally speaking, where I'm like directly responding to what you said, and I think you might, yeah. We come into this, like what we're talking about, kind of maybe more repressed, but that's not true for all of us in this space anymore, because you've all been doing this work. So of meaning, I want to know how to express myself, right? Like I want to learn how to fully express myself, right? How many of you have felt like super shut down and like you couldn't express yourself? Like just kind of like wiggle around a little bit so I can see that I'm not the only person in the room. Okay, yeah. Okay, good. Thank you. I think we all kind of felt like that, right? And then what happens then when we come into a state of evolution where we are expressed? Who are we then? We're a child. We're a child. So good job. We've become children again.
Now we have to grow up.
Now we have to grow up, right? It's like, who am I now? Do any of you have children? Are those children fully expressed in their emotions and thoughts and feelings outwardly? Yeah, right? So there's this process of reclaiming that, like, I'm speaking my truth. This is my, this is what matters. Like, this is the expression. And many of us, and this is a lot of the work that we do, like, many of us still, it's not that that also ever ends, because then there's another layer of like oppression that comes from your fucking great grandmother. And you know what I mean? All of a sudden, then you're like, oh, why can't I say anything again? Or some pocket of grief is there that, whew, I actually need to stay with this for a little while to see what the truth of the expression is, right? It's not, it's like the feminine path is cyclical, it's not linear, right? But then we have to learn how to grow up, right? Now we can express ourselves in certain ways. So how do we learn how to discern what needs to be expressed and to whom in what moment, right? And if you're in relationship and partnership, that's a really important thing to learn, because expressing to this one person all the time is definitely not the thing that's going to create thriving energy in the relationship, right? Having multiple and many spaces where we can bring these things, including the sacred fire for me, because I have a lot to express, is so, like, it's crucial, right? And that's part of why we're here.
The other thing along with that is, we come onto the path and we've been taught to not trust our feelings or not trust our intuitions or not trust our mind, basically. We come from like situations where we're gaslit in big and small ways. And so then there's this phase where it's like, everything I feel and think is true. Like all of my feelings are facts, and I'm not gonna like hear anything else than that. That's the other thing. And then similar to what the anger piece was that you were talking about, that then we can learn to like come back and bring in what we call the buddhi and like the discerning intellect. And okay, I'm gonna not just immediately discard my feelings and thoughts as being wrong, but I'm also not just going to like give them the reins of my life ever after, because again, it's like we become a child. And it's like, how do we grow up within that? And so part of that, and I think that what we're coming to with this fire ceremony today is that we act like that and do that when we feel like we don't have anyone taking care of us.
Coming back to that thing.
That creates like a feeling of desperation. That creates a feeling of like poverty that can't be overcome with money. That creates a sense of like loneliness that can't be overcome by a sense of company. And it creates that child energy where we're just angry and like kind of and so then how do we as spiritual adults relate to a parent? We can let ourselves be a child within our practice and then be grown-ups in society. We can let ourselves be not just a child, but be a baby, be an infant to the divine mother, to that supreme principle. And that's kind of where we're getting to. And working with Ganesha is the child of Shiva and Shakti, in the stories. And, how do we put invoke that energy of Ganesha that is unstoppable, that is fully unrepressed, like an elephant, but that is also like disciplined, and that is ultimately at the service of the divine, Shiva and Shakti, and also nurtured by that in such a perfect way.
Yeah, I love like feeling the thread into like, where can I be a child, and like being a child of the divine is so satisfying. And
honoring your inner child and all that kind of stuff,
yes.
as long as you don't just become your inner child.
Right. And I mean, that's like, it's such a subtle shift, but it's so massive at the same time, even whether we're talking about like spiritual work through awareness or the spiritual work of embodiment. Like a lot of times people, confuse embodiment work for feeling good. Like you're supposed to feel good or you're supposed to just be feeling all the time. But the embodiment work actually helps us to bear witness to our feelings and emotions. Learning the language of sensation helps us learn how to relate to sensation. So we're not just consumed and overwhelmed by it, but we're learning how to relate to it. So there's actually a separation between it and us, so we can utilize the energy. Ultimately, that's how I see it, and my experience of it, which is also, anything we're saying is very messy and only learned through trial and error like a million times. That needs to be said, but that we're relating to it, right? So let's do the practice. I loved that kind of thread you just pulled in. We're gonna stand up, and if you can't stand up for any reason, anything that I say in this next 5 minutes that we're going to do this exercise, you could do in your mind, because your imagination is a language of your body, the same way that movement is, and the same way that emotion is. So image is a channel of the body. So you can imagine what I'm saying. If for any reason at all, you can't do it physically. Okay. But if you can, you're going to come up to stand, and then we'll come back down to sit. But come up to stand and just find a place where you're standing with your feet a little bit wider than your hips. And if you have an altar, maybe you can face your altar. Or if you don't, you can just face something in your space that's natural or beautiful. And just start with your feet about a little bit wider than your hips and parallel. So the outer edges of your feet look down, and bring your feet parallel. And then bring a slight bend into your knees and relax your arms by your sides. Let your body weight shift from left foot to right a few times, and let the soles of your feet soften and melt. And really feel the weight in your pelvis or in your womb or in your sex organs, from your sacrum down to your root, from your tailbone to your pubic bone, your sit bones down to your heels. And I want you just to imagine anger that is something that's within you, and whether you're disconnected from it, consumed by it, or in a neutral relationship to it right now, I just want you to allow yourself to invoke some of it with your awareness. Like maybe you can even imagine the last time you felt frustrated. And just keep letting your weight shift side to side, and feel the column in the central channel from your root all the way up to your crown, and feel it just kind of moving, right, side to side, as you start to allow your eyes to either close or just stay softly open on something natural or on your altar. And then you're going to start to bend your knees and lift your knees up towards your chest. So you have to engage your core. And if you don't know what I mean, just look at me for a second. And you're going to lift your knees up high. And really feel like focus inward. And start to take some deep breaths and really feel your core, your navel. So keep moving your legs. You have to move your legs. And keep moving. And we're only going to do this for like a minute, okay? You can also imagine it. And feel the energy from your core, and feel a little fire there, and I want you to start to connect to like the feeling of being restricted. Like anything in your life that's been restricting you, whether it's a situation or a place where you live or a person. But keep moving your knees. The knees are important. and like lifting them up from your core. So you're really feeling the lower part of your body here. And start to breathe with a couple stronger exhales, and just imagine the feeling of being constrained or being abandoned, or, you know, the thing that just like makes you want to just like yell. And let yourself make a couple sounds, and you can imagine the sound or just breathe and just the feeling of being bound, being misunderstood, being like not considered, right? Like feels like it's unfair, right? Something that feels just like, and take a little growl and feel your knees go up a couple more times. And then let your knees just start to come a little bit lower, but keep moving. And then feel in your body, what is it like for you to be inside some of that dynamic energy? What is it like to feel consciously into being restricted or being misunderstood or being left, or, you know, having your freedom in some way taken away? What is it like for you to relate to that? And then come and stand on your own 2 feet again. Close your eyes if they're open, and really feel the energy flowing through your body. And feel the way you relate, and notice if you're disassociating, there's no problem. But notice if you don't want to relate to that energy, or if you do, and without judging it, just noticing. What is it like to relate to being constricted or confined or told what to do in ways that don't see you, that don't honor who you truly are? And there's so many different scenarios that we can imagine, but just feeling the way your body stores this energy. You can't just, you know, use the awareness to connect to it. It's actually a living energy in your body that creates, your state creates the stories that you tell about yourself in your life. It comes from the state in your body. So just see what it's like to be with this state of constriction, this state of anger maybe, or grief. For some of you, it might not be anger, it might be something else. It might be numbness. And then pause in the center just for one last moment and feel this central channel. Feel all the way down into your perineum with your awareness, and all the way up the middle of your body to the crown of your head. And then let your eyes open and be soft, but feel yourself, feel this central channel for a moment. And feel what it's like to let the vision that's in your heart, the desire that's in your heart of how you want to be received and perceived and how you want to see into your life, just like start to come online a little bit. The energy that's in your heart in the center. And we're going to take that right into the mantra practice. So you can kind of stay there as long as you want. And when you're ready, you can come on down to sit. Between 10:15, usually around 10:15. I mean, it's usually like an hour or an hour and 15.
Are we doing fire now, or?
Yeah, I'll do the mantra a few times with the harmonium, and then we can. Okay, so just notice, see what you notice after doing that practice, just a short little moment.
Yeah, they should do it. They should do the mantra slowly a little bit, because when we do the fire, we're going to have to do the mantra pretty fast.
Okay. Do you want to teach the mantra and then I'll do it with the harmonium a few times?
Yeah.
Okay. So we'll teach you the mantra and then we'll do it a few times slowly, because when we do it with the fire, you're either just going to listen or you're going to do it with us, but we're going to be doing it kind of fast.
Did we get it written anywhere?
Yeah, is it, can you guys, did you find it or did you get it written? Oh, there it is. Okay, thanks, B. Om Ekadantaya Vidmahe Vakratundaya Dhimahi Tanodanti Prachodayat. Perfect. Do you want to just go over the pronunciation?
Yeah, just talk about it for just a second. I'm just need to
So, a lot of people know about the Gayatri mantra, but there's all the different gods and goddesses have a Gayatri. Well, I don't know if they all do actually, but they do. Yeah, they all have a Gayatri mantra, right? So this is to the energy, the awakening of the energy of Ganesha, who, like I said, is also the Lord of Ghosts. So it's a way that I really feel we can tend to the unseen realms and tend to calling in the blessings, but also blessing those who have died, blessing those who are in the unseen realms that we want to relate to, or that we want to relate to differently, right? Or that we want to just bless their soul's journeys.
Okay. So the mantra, I'm here. I'm just a little bit off camera. The mantra is Om Eka Dantaya. You just say that back to me. Eka Dantaya
Ekadantaya
Vidmahe
Vidmahe
Vakratundaya
Vakratundaya
So it's like a D-H Dhimahi
Dhimahi Dhimahi
Dhimahi
Dhimahi
Tano Danti
Tanodanti
Prachodayat.
Prachodayat.
So like those long ahs are important for it to work rhythmically. So it's Om Ekadantaya Vidmahe Vakratundaya Dhimahi Tanodanti Prachodayat. And it'll go really fast when we're doing it with the fire.
So I'll do it 3 times more slowly. So you can just listen, and then you could try some of it if you want. You can read it. Let's chant Om all together. Just Om.
Do you have original sound on?
Yeah. Take a deep breath into your belly. Ekadantaya Vidmahe Vakratundaya Dhimahi Tanodanti Prachodayat. Om Ekadantaya Vidmahe Vakratundaya Dhimahi Tanodanti Prachodayat. Om Ekadantaya Vidmahe Vakratundaya Dhimahi Tanodanti Prachodayat.
And this mantra is very powerful. Like, don't underestimate. This is like doing 108 rounds of this mantra is like what you can do when you're facing like a serious obstacle, like an emergency kind of an obstacle. It's very, very powerful. So I really suggest that you choose a clear intention that you're going to direct this energy toward, and focus it that way. Or like something that you want to bring about, something that you want to like commence. Adriana and I our next project is to create a whole in-person container for teachings and healing experiences that will be retreats, like in-person retreats, much more frequently, and really, really cool ones. Like imagine silent meditation during the day and like dancing to, what did we say yesterday?
I don't remember.
dancing to like, crazy house music
Oh yeah, yeah.
at night. But like deeply healing in-person things that will eventually be a place, an actual retreat center. So that's very much in my heart right now, and I can see lots of potential obstacles in the way of that. So that's what I'm offering this to today.
Yeah, and just bringing in our own, collective prayers for all the beings, that are suffering, all the beings that are facing such intense atrocity, calling in, all the prayers in Gaza and for Gaza and for, the freedom of the Palestinians and, all the people that really have and continue to be, suffering at the hands of really fucking evil oppression and
Directing energy towards that evil oppression that is in the minds and hearts of the oppressors.
Yeah.
Too. Like may those be moved through those
Yeah.
wickedness.
Yeah. Ganesha definitely carries that like earthy, transformational, like not fucking around kind of energy in my experience. So it's good to bring in the intense stuff.
So we're offering ghee, like clarified butter, which is traditional, and this other substance, which is rice, black sesame seeds, and then all of these different traditional herbs that are offered to the fire ceremony.
And we're going to do it 108 rounds. So you can either do it with us or listen and receive. It'll probably take around 10 minutes, I would assume. So check the time. Okay, maybe it'll take 15 minutes. So check the time, and if you can, block out the next 15 minutes, then like really be in the container. And you can also just listen and receive and breathe. You can write, if you're not doing the mantra, you can also like be writing during this time, but just try to stay like focused in if you can as we do it. And off we go. Do you want to go back and forth?
I think we should, but
Okay.
we're gonna have to like go fast. Like maybe we can build up to a certain speed. But,
Okay.
okay, here we go. Om Ekadantaya vidmahe vakratundaye dhimahi tano danti prachodayat.
Om Ekadantaya Vidmahe Vakratundaya Dhimahi Tanno Danti Prachodayat.
Om Ekadantaya vidmahe vakratundaye dhimahi tano danti prachodayat.
Om Ekadantaya Vidmahe Vakratundaya Dhimahi Tanno Danti Prachodayat.
Om Ekadantaya vidmahe vakratundaye dhimahi tano danti prachodayat.
Om Ekadantaya Vidmahe Vakratundaya Dhimahi Tanno Danti Prachodayat.
Om Ekadantaya vidmahe vakratundaye dhimahi tano danti prachodayat.
Om Ekadantaya Vidmahe Vakratundaya Dhimahi Tanno Danti Prachodayat.
Om Ekadantaya vidmahe vakratundaye dhimahi tano danti prachodayat.
Om Ekadantaya Vidmahe Vakratundaya Dhimahi Tanno Danti Prachodayat.
Om Ekadantaya vidmahe vakratundaye dhimahi tano danti prachodayat.
Om Ekadantaya Vidmahe Vakratundaya Dhimahi Tanno Danti Prachodayat.
Om Ekadantaya vidmahe vakratundaye dhimahi tano danti prachodayat.
Om Ekadantaya Vidmahe Vakratundaya Dhimahi Tanno Danti Prachodayat.
Om Ekadantaya vidmahe vakratundaye dhimahi tano danti prachodayat.
Om Ekadantaya Vidmahe Vakratundaya Dhimahi Tanno Danti Prachodayat.
Om Ekadantaya vidmahe vakratundaye dhimahi tano danti prachodayat.
Om Ekadantaya Vidmahe Vakratundaya Dhimahi Tanno Danti Prachodayat.
Om Ekadantaya vidmahe vakratundaye dhimahi tano danti prachodayat.
Om Ekadantaya Vidmahe Vakratundaya Dhimahi Tanno Danti Prachodayat.
Om Ekadantaya vidmahe vakratundaye dhimahi tano danti prachodayat.
Om Ekadantaya Vidmahe Vakratundaya Dhimahi Tanno 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 Danti Prachodayat.
Om Ekadantaya vidmehi vakratundaya dhimahi tanno danti prachodayata.
Om Ekadantaya Vidmahe Vakratundaya Dhimahi Tanno Danti Prachodayata.
Om Ekadantaya vidmehi vakratundaya dhimahi tanno danti prachodayata.
Om Ekadantaya Vidmahe Vakratundaya Dhimahi Tanno Danti Prachodayata.
Om Ekadantaya vidmehi vakratundaya dhimahi tanno danti prachodayata.
Om Ekadantaya Vidmahe Vakratundaya Dhimahi Tanno Danti Prachodayata.
Om Ekadantaya vidmehi vakratundaya dhimahi tanno danti prachodayata.
Om Ekadantaya Vidmahe Vakratundaya Dhimahi Tanno Danti Prachodayata.
Om Ekadantaya vidmehi vakratundaya dhimahi tanno danti prachodayata.
Om Ekadantaya Vidmahe Vakratundaya Dhimahi Tanno Danti Prachodayata.
Om Ekadantaya vidmehi vakratundaya dhimahi tanno danti prachodayata.
Om Ekadantaya Vidmahe Vakratundaya Dhimahi Tanno Danti Prachodayata.
Om Ekadantaya vidmehi vakratundaya dhimahi tanno danti prachodayata.
Om Ekadantaya Vidmahe Vakratundaya Dhimahi Tanno Danti Prachodayata.
Om Ekadantaya vidmehi vakratundaya dhimahi tanno danti prachodayata.
Om Ekadantaya Vidmahe Vakratundaya Dhimahi Tanno Danti Prachodayata.
Om Ekadantaya vidmehi vakratundaya dhimahi tanno danti prachodayata.
Om Ekadantaya Vidmahe Vakratundaya Dhimahi Tanno Danti Prachodayata.
Om Ekadantaya vidmehi vakratundaya dhimahi tanno danti prachodayata.
Om Ekadantaya Vidmahe Vakratundaya Dhimahi Tanno Danti Prachodayata.
Om Ekadantaya vidmehi vakratundaya dhimahi tanno danti prachodayata.
Om Ekadantaya Vidmahe Vakratundaya Dhimahi Tanno Danti Prachodayata.
Om Ekadantaya vidmehi vakratundaya dhimahi tanno danti prachodayata.
Om Ekadantaya Vidmahe Vakratundaya Dhimahi Tanno Danti Prachodayata.
Om Ekadantaya vidmehi vakratundaya dhimahi tanno danti prachodayata.
Om Ekadantaya Vidmahe Vakratundaya Dhimahi Tanno Danti Prachodayata.
Om Ekadantaya vidmehi vakratundaya dhimahi tanno danti prachodayata.
Om Ekadantaya Vidmahe Vakratundaya Dhimahi Tanno Danti Prachodayata.
Om Ekadantaya vidmehi vakratundaya dhimahi tanno danti prachodayata.
Om Ekadantaya Vidmahe Vakratundaya Dhimahi Tanno Danti Prachodayata.
Om Ekadantaya vidmehi vakratundaya dhimahi tanno danti prachodayata.
Om Ekadantaya Vidmahe Vakratundaya Dhimahi Tanno Danti Prachodayata.
Om Ekadantaya vidmehi vakratundaya dhimahi tanno danti prachodayata.
Om Ekadantaya Vidmahe Vakratundaya Dhimahi Tanno Danti Prachodayata.
Om Ekadantaya vidmehi vakratundaya dhimahi tanno danti prachodayata.
Om Ekadantaya Vidmahe Vakratundaya Dhimahi Tanno Danti Prachodayata.
Om Ekadantaya vidmehi vakratundaya dhimahi tanno danti prachodayata. Om Ekadantaya vidmahi vakratundaya dhimahi tanno danti prachodayata.
Gajananam Bhuta Ganadi Sevitam Kapita Jambu Falacharu Bhakshanam Umachitam Shoka Vinashakarakam Namami Vigneshwara Pada Pankajam Hari Om Tat Sat.
And so you can let your eyes stay resting on the fire if you'd like, or let your eyes close. And just any natural devotional energies in you that want to offer gratitude, offer any longings and prayers, just in this relationship to the sacred fire that nurtures, that sustains, and strengthens us on the spiritual path. It warms us, it illuminates us and our awareness, even in the most lost and unconscious of moments. Her grace can tend to any challenge, any suffering. And just as you breathe into your relationship to the sacred fire, like feed it with what's living in you. Feed it with not just maybe what you're presented with today, but what you've lived through, what the body might remember. So all of it, so nothing is left out of this offering. That's part of the reason why we connect to the body, because it carries even more offerings for the divine. Every inch of our humanness to her is beloved. Nothing too dark, nothing too heavy. Take a deeper breath, move in your spine a little bit, but stay in this connection. And let yourself have a vision of the Divine Mother. Maybe she comes in the form of energy or a goddess or a god. There's, a very non-binary situation in the other realms. So just see what arises, or maybe the face of a beloved, someone who possesses that unconditional loving energy. But let it be like an energy more than a person, unless it feels really clear and strong. And feel the parts of you that need to be nurtured by her, that need her precious milk, that need her overflow of generosity and forgiveness, of mercy. And then let yourself be in this moment with her, but lift your arms up towards her and imagine like she's in line with your eyes, but just a little bit above you, so you can be a little small and just reach your arms up for her. Let your arms stretch, let your fingers stretch. Let your whole body embrace her. And even let your mouth and your face and your lips, like you can imagine like you were nursing on her breasts. You can literally move your mouth in the motion of like you were sucking. And feel it in your mouth, feel it in your body. Let your whole being be a part of this embrace. Feel the motion in your mouth, in your throat. Feel it down into your heart, into your belly. Let her blessings just pour down into you. energetically resolving anything that wants to be resolved, moving mountains that can only be moved by her. Protection upon protection that's rooted in love. And really let yourself use your body. Like if you're a long time meditator and it feels weird to like stretch your arms and make a little fish face with your mouth, just do it and see what happens when you go beyond where it feels comfortable. That's where she lives. And let yourself swallow and soften your throat. And see what you notice as you let your arms relax, as you let your face relax, and you just pause for another minute here, just in this energetic embrace. What emotions want to be freed? What heat in your body wants to be let out? Sending this blessing back through your lineage. Send it to your own mother, to the womb that you came from and the womb that she came from. Let the energy go back through you. Clear the pain of the past. And then breathe into your heart at the center and just feel the vision for the newness that has yet to form. But feel it in your heart. Let your heart's vision be felt and seen, even if it's still cloudy or maybe it's really clear and you know what it is, but you also need to offer it. You need to surrender it. To make that space. All this or something greater. For the liberation of all beings. For the good of all beings, beyond what we can comprehend. Beyond our own righteousness. Or failures. And just let your body move, wiggling your toes. Let your hips move and just start to feel into the space around you and take up that space with your awareness. You could even say in your mind or out loud, "This is my space." And just allowing her into your space and feeling and claiming this space that is yours. And just coming back into resting your eyes on the flame and then finding something in your own space. Looking side to side, moving your neck and your head. And eventually, when you're ready, you can come back into relationship here with the group and see what that's like, but just kind of noticing every step along the way, coming from inside back into relationship. Like, let it be slow and gentle, and noticing how there's enough space for everyone, noticing how there's enough room for each one of us to occupy the space that is ours, while also tending to and relating to one another. It's such good practice, and part of why we have this sacred fire to hold us, to not just transmute and transform, but to also create the space that we need. So to close, we would love to just, take 10 minutes or so. If you have to go, make sure you drink a lot of water and maybe go on a walk. You can always email us. However you got this link, you can just email us back if you have any questions or want support with anything or want to just share your experience. It's, again, really important to kind of be in a sharing of your own experience as wisdom, right? And it's not always the moment to do that, so you can always email me later. But we would also love to hear from some of you, even if you just put a line or a word of like what the sacred fire, what the divine mother, what was it like to just drink her milk? What was it like to reach your arms out? What was it like to do the mantra or to receive the mantra? What did you notice? What are you noticing now? And what questions do you have? And you can unmute and or put in the chat anything that you're noticing, any shift that you're noticing in your perception from an hour ago to now. Yeah. Or unmute or raise your hand if you know how to do that. Water. Tanya.
Hi, guys. Congratulations.
Thank you. I put in my newsletter that we got engaged. He didn't know this.
I have so much to ask, but I know this isn't the time. But I've been welcomed into this, what I like to call a magical world. And I've never practiced any yoga or anything. So it's a whole new world, right? And it's beautiful. I've always said that if I could find something that embraced every aspect of spirituality, I feel like I've landed, like, it sounds so silly, in this land of knowledge that I've craved my whole fucking life.
Yeah.
And it's beautiful, it's painful, but I'm grateful. And I got so much to learn. I listened to your recording this morning, and I thought there's one part that stuck out for me. And it's you had said, because I read it, it says it's for the teachers, the mentors, and I'm like, I have none of these. And of course I have to educate myself, right? Real quick. How do I find out who this goddess is? But you said I give consultation before we invite people in, because maybe. And I thought, opened my heart, because I'm here, because a friend embraced sharing her beauty with me and knowledge. So I'm thankful for that. And I won't take up too much time because I can talk ADHD and over hyperness. But at this moment, I feel the love, the peace, and the excitement, and I'm craving fucking more. So to those, you got a virgin to all of it. And I'm grateful to be welcomed into this little beautiful planet of knowledge.
And Tanya, just the energy of the eternal virgin, because ideally we're all eternally virgins in this work. I also hear what you're saying about just the desire when we come into the world of Tantra of just like, yes, like this is what I've been looking for. I've had my own experience of that. And we are always eternally in this. We are all virgins, some part of us or some aspect of us in relationship to the divine. So thank you for bringing that in and bringing your tears and your vulnerability. And thank you. I really appreciate it.
Crazy, you just said virgin. You want to hear something that this was really deep? That was taken from me. That was taken from me when I was young. And you said, I said, I'm a virgin coming into this. And it's kind of like, well, wow, maybe I'm giving that back now. Like, here, you can have that back. It's yours forever. You know what I mean? Does that
Yes.
make sense? Yeah. It's very odd, the things that I'm noticing now. I'm like, this is amazing. But thank you. It's amazingly beautiful and I feel better. So thank you.
Good. Thank you. Keep coming. Yeah. Sorry,
Thank you.
Rosa. I
Thank
didn't
you.
realize.
Thank you, Tanya.
Her should have sent you that message. And I thought you sent it to us. That's why I sent that back. Sorry. I didn't realize. What else? What else
She's
did you
got her hand
notice?
up.
Yes. Liza, and then we'll have time for one more, and then I want to read what's in the chat.
Hello. Can you
Hi.
hear me?
Yes.
Okay. So that was the mantra was so beautiful. And I just finished reading like Mirabai Starr's book, Caravan of Dreams. So it's Adriana, you recommended, and
Yeah.
amazing fucking book. Like so recommended. And there was so much like
Called
what?
Caravan. It's called
Caravan of- Oh, despair. Yeah, sorry. I don't know why I keep changing the name.
Best book in the world, especially if you're grieving. It's like
so fucking good. Highly recommend. It's woo-woo, but I like woo-woo, so it works for me.
no, I didn't mean that. I just said like woo woo, like Mirabai, like shouting her out. Yeah. No, I don't use the word woo woo. It doesn't even make sense to me.
But, sorry. Anyways, from that book, like I was starting to get back into like kirtan and like it's so spiritual and it was like really making me want to get back into it. And then today, I think just from like coming off reading that book and then really like doing the mantra and repeating it, like it felt really like, wow, I've missed this energy and I'm just doing like a lot of trauma informed work, trying to get back into my body and the grief and everything.
Yes.
And then right when you were talking about like, you know, like sucking on the breasts of like the mother and letting her like feel you and feel her. And I was getting so into it. And then this phone call that I've been dreading like came at that exact time where I was like really like embracing it and like turning myself over to it. And it was just like boom, like here you are right back in your shit. And it like took away like that one moment of like fucking peace that I had that I was like, yes, like take it. Like
Yeah.
and it's just like that feels like, and I'm so excited to go on the retreat with you next week. That feels like so much of my life. It's like I do this and I get really into it and then I'll feel like peace for like a second. And then it's like I know Ganesh too. It's like remover of obstacles. And then it's like, yeah, like I just always feel like being tested or like I'd never have time to like integrate it before the next thing.
Can we respond? Can I interrupt you? And then I want Harshita. Is it okay if Harshita responds to what you're saying? Because I feel like he would have
Yeah,
some.
sorry, I was like going.
Don't be sorry. I'm just,
Yeah.
you can interrupt me at any time too. We can just, we're in flow. It's fine. But yeah, I would love, do you want to respond to Liza?
Yeah, I mean, that's how it's so awesome that you're coming to the retreat. First of all, you're going to have such an incredible, I wish I could come on this retreat. I can't. But it's always like that. It's like, it's not even like we're in this thing and then we get interrupted by the phone call. It's like it's the phone call and it's our body and it's our trauma and it's our job and it's our money and it's our all of these things, relationships, all of it, and all of those things are there. And then the work that we're doing is two things. It's like learning to have a relationship with, like, using the example, it's like if all of that stuff or all of the elements of the salad, like the leaves and the seeds and whatever, then we're in spirituality, we're learning to have a relationship with the bowl that's holding the salad, and then the dressing that we put on the salad. And literally, that it's such a silly example, but that comes from Shiva Sutra, from like this ancient tantric text, where it says we take the fourth state and put it on the other states like oil. It's like and that's why going to retreat is so powerful, because we get so fortified in that concentrated experience that then when we go back, it's like and it feels less and less like interruption, I guess, is what I'm coming to, because that interruption thing is like so traumatizing and so tiresome when it feels like I've got it, I've lost it, I've got it, I've lost it, I've got it, I've lost it. It's like, no, it's just like leaf, broccoli, seed, leaf,
Yeah,
broccoli.
exactly how it feels. It's like, I got it, I lost it, I got it. So it's like you're kind of like, I don't know, just like flopping in between, and it just is like so unsettling.
And so like your practice, I'm saying this to everyone, I'm saying this to myself too, because I'm looking at myself in the reflection here. It's like your practice is to like find that bowl, establish a relationship with it, that which never changes no matter what is in the salad. And then also just become like obsessed with the dressing. Like just fucking, you know, like when you get that salad dressing that you just love and you want to put it on the salad and the rice and you want to dip the veggie chicken nuggets in it and everything because it's so good. It's like that's what the devotional part becomes. And you know, the sweetness.
Yeah. Thank you for sharing that. Yeah. And I love that. Yeah. It's so good. And thank you, Liza, for sharing. Yeah.
Thank you, Liza.
And more, of course, you're coming on retreat. And honestly, like I go on retreats, like how often do I go on retreats? Like all the time.
When are you not under? She doesn't even unpack her suitcase.
No, that's not true. You don't unpack your suitcase.
That's because I'm neurodivergent, but you don't unpack your suitcase. Because I used to tour before COVID. I used to tour so much when I was teaching that like my suitcase was always slightly packed. I never completely unpacked it. But now I just have this habit where I don't tour that often, but I still have like a half-packed suitcase all the time.
It's true. And like I go on retreats because for exactly what, you know, Harshit is saying. Like to me, this isn't a path of like trying to fix something. This is my life. Like my life, I'm a witch. Like period. You know, my life is living in service and in devotion to something greater than myself. And whatever is required for that is what I do. And so, you know, it's also, I think, allowing us all to kind of shift this wellness that's really a fucking illness from my perspective of like fixing something to be worthy of something, to get more shit. And it's like, no, you know, like this is what Harshita just so beautifully kind of brought in of like allowing us to connect to that ever present, what's sustaining us, right? And being learning, being able to like make mistakes and feel like I know exactly what you're talking about, Liza. I've experienced that so much. I can remember a specific moment being with Mirabai Star in a Ram Dass retreat and being like having this full mystical experience and then coming out and somebody saying something to me that was like, whoosh, you know, just like bitch slapped, you know, and I was like, why? And Mirabai was just like, doesn't it suck? Like, doesn't reality just suck sometimes? Like, doesn't it suck that that just happens? And I was like, yes, like, can't I just always be, you know, and that's the path. Like, that's the process, you know, that's what we're learning to do.
And that it's not a path of like going back to the Liza Memorial salad illustration.
Yeah.
It's not a matter of now, that's what I'm going to call it from now on. I've never used it before, so it just happened. But it's not a matter of just like getting to a point where like all the elements of the salad are all spiritual and they're all groovy. I mean, I don't know how many of you know us personally, but you know, we have, you know, this aspect of our life that you see that we show with you and that we show on our social media and everything. But just in a couple hours, I'm going to go pick up my kids that are like 9 and 12 that are the most chaotic elements of non-spiritual energy that you could possibly imagine. I'm just going to be making grilled cheese sandwiches and fighting and being screamed at and we're going to the open house at the public school today, the two of us. We're going to go there. We're going to be talking to other parents' faces that are like, oh, Mom, what do you do?
At least you guys are fucking human too. Like, good to know.
Well, human with the whole salad. That's the thing.
Yeah.
And it's like...
And it's beautiful too. I mean, it's like part of what we get to enjoy. And then it's also where our work is, you know, it's like, how do we...
And we have metabolisms, you know, we're like, our blood sugar all of a sudden is now available and like, you know, we're... She said that we went out to lunch yesterday and she said that I was being so boring because I was just like, I just really needed to eat, and I wasn't into the vibe of the place. And so I was just like eating my food and just like not talking. And I chew my food a lot more than she does. So she like finished her food really fast and then was just sitting there watching me eat in silence, chewing my food. She was so bored and probably hating my guts in that moment and thinking, oh God, I just got engaged to this guy. And like,
it was the most boring meal. I was like, oh my God, like, I wish someone else was here. Like, why? Like, it was so boring, and it was hilarious now that we're talking about it. But it really was. I was like, I was thinking all those things that he just said. I was like, this is terrible. But, you know, some flicker of my awareness was also there.
For another 50 years.
But I also was aware, like, okay, this is one moment. You know what I mean? Like, it's okay. But I am the most, like, yeah, no, I was
thinking all the same thing. No, I'm not going to say it now because it's going to come back to me.
Anyways,
but just to say that the salad is always the salad. But that bowl is, we're all held by the same bowl. And for each of us, the dressing is something different that we get to discover and get to, you know, it's meant to be delicious. It is meant to be delicious. And, you know, that's the work.
Yeah.
It's not getting it perfect. It's just like getting it the way that it works for us.
Yeah. It's beautiful.
Thank you all so much.
Yeah, thank you for being in our ceremony. We love doing this so much. We always offer one free ceremony a month. And there's a million other ways that you can, you know, stay connected. I'm doing a retreat in Italy, a womb healing and writing retreat in Italy. So please come to that. B can put the link in the chat. And then we have a teacher training starting in July. And, you know, Harshit and I are...
For Body Temple.
For Body Temple. And if you want more movement and more dance, you know, we have classes on Fridays that you could join by joining our monthly subscription. So there's lots of ways to stay connected, and we do this once a month too. So thank you. And
my Maha Yoga training that we're in the midst of,
yeah.
We're doing our retreat in August here in Ojai, and we're considering it making something that we open up. So it will be like it'll be like jumping into the deep end for sure. But think about that. Think about coming out to Ojai in August and being in person retreat with us.
And if you have any questions, you can book a consult call with me if you're curious about working together. Or Harshita. If you're curious about working together, yeah, I'm always happy to have a little chat and see where we're at and see where you're at. And if you want to share your experience about drinking the Divine Mother's milk, please send me an email because I'm so curious what you experienced. If it feels okay or appropriate for you to share it with me, B and I. B is always here. Thank you so much, B, for not always here, but is here a lot for assisting and being in this space with us. It's always, yeah, so amazing to have B in this space and supporting and all the beautiful things that she does for our community. It's really important to name and acknowledge and affirm you, because I definitely couldn't do any of this without you. I would never be able to take off, you know, ever. And that is not okay. You know what I mean? That's like really important. So we're here. And if you send an email to the support email, it'll go just to B and I. So just so you know, but we are both able to hold a strong space of love, you know, in receiving your experience, because I really love that, like drinking of the mother's milk, you know, it's so good. So I'm curious what you experienced, and we'll send you all, you know, updates, and you can unmute to say bye.
Bye.
Bye. Bye. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you.
Bye, Adriana. Bye, Harshita. Congratulations.
Bye.
Thanks, Todd. Bye, everyone.